Hey, welcome along to another episode of Fundamental Golf. Tonight we have a very special guest, Mr. Andrew Law, who I'm not going to introduce him myself. You can give yourself a little introduction in a second, Andrew. And obviously we've got Emma as well. Say hello, Emma.
Hello. Yes. Hello, everyone.
And Andrew, do you want to introduce yourself quickly? Briefly,
sure.
And then we'll
thanks, Ben. And hi, Emma.
Hello, Drew.
I am why am I on here? Because I troll you guys on Instagram, so that's always fun. The first time I've seen Ben not wearing Nike, so thanks, Ben.
I told him not to.
I'm in Taylormade today.
Oh, Tom, okay, fair enough. And full transparency, Emma and I have known each other for probably 15 years because she used to coach my daughter when my daughter was just a tiny little thing, and right up into Will. So we've always kept in touch, and I was always grateful for that. So today I am the managing director for Adidas Golf. So I'm responsible for the golf category for Adidas in Europe, Middle East, and South Africa. Up until 3 years ago, I was the commercial director at Taylormade Golf, or what we call Taylormade Adidas Golf. So Adidas owned the Taylormade brand from, I think, about 1999. Had a lot of successful years with the brand, but it divested of Taylormade in 2017 only because clubs is not the core business of Adidas. Adidas is basically t-shirts and sneakers. So we sold Taylormade in 2017 to a private equity American firm. But I used to head up the commercial business, so sales, bit of marketing across Europe. And then when we split, I stayed with Adidas to head up our golf business in Europe, Middle East, and Africa. And we're based in amazing Stoke, Hampshire.
Good old amazing Stoke.
I don't think I've ever travelled to that part of the world. Is it a nice place?
It's that's why it's called Amazing Stoke. It's pretty amazing. Oh. We're actually about 500 yards, so a sort of Bryson DeChambeau drive away from Taylormade. So
yeah, it's amazing.
Where they are, and we moved just further down in the same industrial park. And we're still good friends with the folks at Taylormade, but we've got nothing to do with them anymore.
I was just about to ask that. You surely have got to still be good friends with them in terms of, because some of the athletes are obviously involved with both of you, aren't they? Taylormade and Adidas. Well, quite a few of them actually. Some of the big ones as well.
It's true. Yeah. It's true. A lot of people. I'm only on Instagram. I don't do Twitter. I find Twitter gets angry. So I think I stick to Instagram, and I like to look at what people are saying about brands and players and products and so on. And a lot of people still associate Taylormade with Adidas and Adidas with Taylormade. But we've got people like Xander Schauffele, who's a Callaway guy. We've still got DJ World number 1, who is still very much a Taylormade guy. Sergio, Adidas, he was Taylormade. He went to Callaway. I think he's doing his own thing. Tyrrell Hatton, England's finest. I think he's 6th in the world now. Hasn't had the best couple of weeks, the last couple of tournaments, but really special player, and he's with Ping. So we cross all the brands now. But the golf industry is a small, tight-knit kind of cottage industry each other. And we're still very friendly with the guys at Taylormade, not least because I still need new equipment from time to
time. Don't we all? All?
I did change. Exactly. Is that why you invited me on? I have one club in my bag that's not Taylormade. There's one club in my bag that's not Taylormade.
What is it?
What would you think? What would you guess?
I would say
that's probably
putter.
Because I know you. Yes. I always fancied a Scotty Cameron, so a Scotty in my bag. But the rest of the product is SimMax Driver Fairway Rescue and this P790 irons.
Yeah, we've pretty much got exactly the same bag, haven't we? Looking at it, it was like identical.
That's incredible. I had 790s, but not the latest version, the 2017. Did they come out in 2017? I had those.
2018, I think it was, Ben. And so do I. I don't like changing my clubs too often.
And I
When I
recently
used to made, I had to change them every year, the latest model. And I'm quite happy to stick with what I've got for a bit longer now.
No, that's fair. You get used to them, don't you? If they're working,
Exactly.
There's no point.
Exactly.
I find this. I know you'd probably say different in terms of possibly say different. I see some of the boys that they change their clubs year in year out, and they're on this conveyor belt, and I'm like, surely you need to hold on to them for a little bit to figure them out, because I certainly do anyway, and I'm not even that good at golf, so it's just
well,
it's one of them.
We love people who change gear.
Oh, of course you do.
Because it keeps us in a job. So God bless all you, anyone that's watching, please buy new product. Keeps all us toughers in the golf industry in a job. But there's an interesting point there. And it's something we used to get challenged with a lot at Taylormade. Why do you bring out product every year, a new driver every year?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But the reality is, and a couple of caveats first. I haven't been with Taylormade for over 3 years, so perhaps their philosophy's changed. And I've never worked for Callaway or Titleist or Ping. But the philosophy with the hardware brands is when they bring out a new product, they're not targeting specifically the person, the golfer, who bought their product last year. They're actually targeting the person that bought product maybe 3, 4, 5 years ago. Because unless you're a really sort of Cat 1 nerd golfer that dials in every number, there's very, very little difference year on year. There should be a slight improvement every year, but you're really only going to see that if you're a real proper Cat 1 golfer with a TrackMan or something at home or access to. And so we found that people change their irons every 5 years and their driver every 4 years on average. So really when Taylor, Callaway, Titleist, Ping and others are marketing the product, they're aiming at those guys that's had them for 2 or 3 years. It doesn't mean that if you bought it last year, you don't get into the next one, because you might like the color, you might like the sound. I'll tell you the thing about golfing consumers. Golfing consumers are smart. They can't have the wool pulled over their eyes. And for companies, there's, especially the hard goods brands, there's nowhere to hide, because when you get a new product, take it and you use your flight scope, your TrackMan, or whatever you're using, or whoever coach you're going to, and you see the numbers and you see the distances and all the angles, and then you might like the look of it and you might like the sound of it or not. So golfers are very discerning in their purchase, and more than ever, they can't be fooled, because you can't hide from the numbers. And that's assuming that most golfers will be fitted. And if they're not, they should be. Find the truth there. And I was on a plane journey to the States a couple of years ago, and the guy next to me was a mad keen golfer. He was over in business, but he was going to the Walker Cup, which was on in, I think it was on an LA Country Club Riviera, I think. And he said to me, right, okay, you don't work for Taylormade anymore. Who's the best? And I said, in all honesty, and I stand by this today, for me, there's 4 superpowers: Taylormade, Callaway, Titleist, Ping, and they all make really good products. I know how much research and development goes into Taylormade. I know the guy that heads it up is actually a rocket scientist, a physicist. So I know the
That's cool. That's really
it is,
cool.
and he's into his R&D and he's into his physics and everything. So I'm very comfortable knowing that Taylormade put a lot into product, but all the brands do a good job. And that's there's other brands, of course, Cobras, PXG, Wilsons, and so on. They all make pretty good product, but I believe those 4 are the superpowers in golf.
Is that just because of the amount of research that goes into those big brands? Is that just because they just do it a lot of it, basically? That's what I'm trying to say.
They do, and they've got departments set up, research and development departments set up with a lot of very scientific testing conditions. Because, and here's the thing with the tour players, there's a sort of a Moneyball philosophy. You've seen the movie Moneyball with Brad Pitt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that philosophy was introduced to golf a few years ago. So if you say to a professional golfer on tour, you're hitting on average your drives 290 yards. And with your second shot in, on average, you're getting within 12 feet of the hole. Let's just say those numbers. They're hypothetical, making them up. With this new piece of equipment, if we can get that 290 to 293, that means you'll get within 8 feet. And if you get within 8 feet, we know you make X number of putts from 8 feet, more than you do with 10. And if you do that consistently, you'll make X amount of more money. So they can actually dial down, and again, it comes back to what I was saying originally about the very subtle differences between one product year on year. But those guys on tour they'll take a yard.
Yeah.
You and I are looking for 10 yards. These guys will take a yard because they know they'll get closer to the pin with their second shot in a par 4. So,
but I guess that's why if the manufacturers are kind of targeting people every 4 or 5 years, if a driver comes out and you get an extra 2-3 yards, by 4 or 5 years' time, that's your 10-15 yards that person wants. I guess
very much so, Emma. Very much so. That's exactly.
I think that was the question that got asked. Why do they seem to keep bringing things out? But I'm guessing it's the same.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, it's the same with mobile phones and everything, isn't it?
Right.
What's his name? Sorry, Ben?
Tyler Thompson. You want to know why they're bringing out clubs every year? Does it render the driver I bought last year obsolete? Was the question, and I wanted to reply and say obviously not, but at the same time, it's good to have an insight.
No, I think you know what? I think it's a really fair question, and like I say, we used to get asked it a lot. But no, your driver, if you just bought it last year, the technology will be very, very close. Its performance minusculely different from this year's. Every now and then something comes out that changes the whole game, and I was very much part of Taylormade when we launched Rocket Balls, white driver. And
first driver.
It was such a good product. The 3-wood went, and I think every now and then you get one of those. It's just like, wow, that's the difference. And I think we had over 50% market share. So almost, 1 in every 2 drivers we bought in that year, which I'm going to say was about 2011. Thereabouts, was a Rocket Balls, and that was phenomenal. But I've got a buddy who was playing, full disclosure. Do you remember the Taylormade? It was called the Slider, but it was SLDR.
Yeah,
I remember that product we ever made.
Yeah,
First
it was
product by far. It was difficult to hit, and I've got a buddy who plays off 18 still with it, and I was like, mate, you gotta get up to date.
Yeah.
He got into Sim Max last year, and he loves it. He's this off the tee. It's easier to.
But don't you just find it bizarre when people do moan and they do get a bee in their bonnet? But like I said, it's like they'll get the new iPhone or new Samsung every 2 years and pay £1,500 for it. Yet a driver at £450-500, they rage because they think their driver's not going to be worth anything.
Yeah, but they kind of hate paying Apple as well. It's kind of one of those. Yeah. Marketing's created in such a way that the demand is strong. It's a sport, and the exciting thing about golf is, although most of us don't play a game anything like the guys and girls on tour, we aspire to. It's the same as where it's Lionel Messi or Ronaldo playing football. I could never play football or anything like them, but we aspire to be something like them, and that's a kind of cool thing about golf. So the product comes out, we create demand, people resent it but love it at the same time. So
It's a funny one. Golf is one of the only sports that I know that you can kind of walk in those professionals' footsteps. So you can. It's really achievable to go and play it with some of these golf courses, like you said about Pebble Beach earlier on, and you can stand in the same places as all these people, and you can use the same tees at them. Well, most of the time you can, and you can then really judge yourself against that. And you can't do that in many other sports. You can't rock up to the new camp and with all your mates and go, "Yeah, come on, we're gonna have a kickabout or what have you." Yeah, and one more point on top of that. I don't know any other sport in terms of individual sport like golf where you do invest so much money into the equipment around you that, do you understand what I mean? Like you are focusing so much, it makes so much of a difference on your game that you're in that. I know there's the games like sailing and stuff like that, but in terms of football, you just got your boots and a football or what have you, and that's it. You're on your way, aren't you? And whereas with golf, you've got to have all the gear.
You touch on a very, very pertinent and interesting point, which I think lends itself more to Emma, because when I joined Adidas in 1994, I think I was 12 or 13, and
obviously
the night before I joined, there was a documentary on TV which was about the Predator football boot. There was a guy called Craig Johnson from Liverpool Football Club who'd helped develop this boot with Adidas that had rubber fins and you could curve the ball in it, literally the next day in April 94. But the reality is, as you say there, if you're playing rugby, I know you played rugby, and I've seen the pictures, it's not a pretty sight, but you know the boots you want. You might have seen Dan Carter or Will Greenwood. You thought, I'll have them.
Funny you say that. I had Predators. I had the Adidas 915s. They were called as well.
Right.
But I used to get the Mickey taken out of me because the 915s are for the backs, and I played hooker and number 8. So I was like wearing 915. Why are you wearing those? And I'm like,
flanker was cool. The big boot we used to sell. Do you remember the flanker?
Yeah,
bucket loads of them.
Those. I tried those and I found them too clumpy because obviously I'm light on my feet, being 22 stone. I went for the 915s and Predators and all the colours. I absolutely loved them, and all my friends loved them as well.
But so you knew what you wanted. You knew how much they cost.
Absolutely, yeah.
Bought them a tenner cheaper in one shop versus another. But you could walk in and say, "Hey, I'm looking for a pair of 915s, size whatever." Boy would bring them out, quick try on, we're off. Different in golf. In golf, the power of the pro and the coach, whether it's a retail pro or a coaching pro, over the consumer. Golf's not easy. We're relying on what the pro tells us. And if he says you need this shaft, this loft, do this, do that, overwhelmingly we do it once we build a level of trust with them. And that means that the golfer's always looking for something to give them a little bit or her a little bit better edge in their game. And the pro is the person with the power knowledge of golf. Unlike the sports shop. I like those football boots, I'll buy them. I don't need to know about them, I'm off. Golf's different. And that also lends itself to a lesser extent on clothing and footwear. And it's more around the person will look at what the pro in the shop or the good golfers in the course will wear, and they'll want a part of that as well. And again, golfers are discerning. They'll know if the product feels right for them, fits right for them, gives them the stability, and so on and so forth. Golfers are nerds, and that's a good thing because they like spending the game.
We are all.
But they also like their similar brands though as well. Don't you think that like there is, and there's a certain golf shoe that they like, and there's certain like polo shirt they like, a certain material, certain color, and I think we are brand kind of geeks. That if you find a brand you like, you're gonna spend a bit more money on it, and you're gonna kind of, okay, I'm gonna buy the collection. I've got like this polo shirt and color and the same polo shirt, but because if you know it fits well, you're going to pay that extra money. I would say.
100%.
I don't know if that's what you find.
I would absolutely agree with that. Like, I know there's not many guys that play golf that are my size, However, it is hard at times to find stuff that fits. And the amount of times I get stuff delivered from all the brands, because I know you see me wear Nike quite often, but that's only because I know it fits well.
Yeah.
So the amount of times I get stuff delivered and I'm like, oh, I've got to send it back.
Yeah.
And I know that's not the brand's fault, because there's not many lumps like me playing golf. But it comes down to even the hats, everything. So we're looking at, even if you take my hat now, right?
Yeah.
It's on the last 2 buttons of the thing, and it's still too small for my head. It's like squashing my head. So I have to try and find flex fits that fit.
Yeah.
But that's just me personally. But Emma doesn't have that issue because she's like tiny.
I've got pinhead. Drew, would you say as a brand then, if you take Adidas, do you work towards a specific age? Do you work to a specific group of people? Like golfers, let's take golfers, because obviously you get a golfer who is 4 years of age versus 90. So as a company, you can't tailor all of them from a clothing point of view. So is there something that they've kind of worked towards in terms of age, gender?
Yeah, we do. It's interesting, Emma, because when we first, Adidas has made golf products since the 70s. Some of you will remember Sandy Lyle winning the Masters, I think it was 1988. Sweaty Pits, but he's wearing Adidas. Bernard Langer wore our shoes back in the 80s as well, the 90s. But when I joined the golf business in 2002, I was living over in Germany in our head office over there, and moved to Hampshire because of Taylormade Adidas Golf, job there. And it was kind of like that's a young person's brand, and that's changed now. And I think that's because people like me who are in their 50s grew up with the brand, so I'm very familiar with it. So whereas I'd be a slightly older bloke on the golf course, I think people in their 50s, 60s are comfortable with the brand. But to answer your question specifically, we have what we call global news. So we've created this man, and his name's Tom, and we've created a woman, and her name's Carrie. And Tom is 38 years old, and he is an avid golfer. He's a low single-figure handicap golfer. He's a member of a club, and his name's on the board several times. Carrie's 42. They're not related. Carrie's 42. She grew up with the game. She left it for a while for maybe it was family, maybe it was career, but she's come back to it. And so we design our product and our marketing for Tom and Carrie. Now here's the interesting thing, because you're right, we've got kids product. It's difficult to bring out, market to people who are 6 years old to 66 years old. But we believe there's what we call a drafting effect of Tom and Carrie. So I'll give you an example. I think I am Tom. So I in my head, I'm 38, I'm a decent golfer, I'm down the club. And then I look at her and I see my father looking out at me, and I think, what happened there? But I cannot, there's older, you don't wake up in your 50s and say, time for a cardigan, a pipe. I think especially now, 50s are the new 40s and so on. So you still want to dress relatively contemporary without making a fool of yourself. If you ever see me in a golf course with some of our cuffed bottoms, just run up and hit me in the back of the head. If I am not, put me out of my misery. I'm not. But I want to look a wee bit cool. I want to look sporty and cool. And so Tom's relevant to me. But if I'm 20 and I'm looking up at Tom, I'm thinking, I want to be that guy one day. He's got a nice car in the car park. He's a good golfer. He always looks the part. His name's on the board. I want my name on the board. So Tom and Carrie have a drafting effect. But that's who we aim when we're thinking of design and marketing and even color palettes. A lot of research will go in by Adidas, who we have teams of people in the company, not just for golf, but we every department liaises with them. And they'll say, "Hey, look, camouflage is becoming important. Pinks are becoming, cool. Greens and browns will be fashionable that year." And so we know that those fashionable things, whether you're 55 or 15, you see that in the shop window, whether you're looking in Gucci or Zara, you see that color palette, and that should be reflected in our colour palette too. Essentially, it's Tom and Carrie that we market.
Love that.
Actually, Tom and Carrie are going through a facelift just now because we've used them for the last 3 years, and we want to make sure that 3 years later they're still relevant. So we're actually going through an exercise just now where we're looking at them and thinking, are these characters relevant for now in the next 3 to 5 years?
What I will say, I've looked at a load of the Adidas stuff recently. I downloaded the app a few months back, and I'm scrolling through all the golf stuff. I haven't looked at any of the other stuff because I just haven't had the opportunity. But I will say the kind of range of products across the board, even to some of the really new stuff that's come out with the, I don't know what you call it, but the collar is more of a t-shirt rather than
it's a crew colour with a little logos around it.
Yeah. All the way up to the polos with the classic colours and that you imagine some of the older guys wearing.
Yeah.
Like, you literally are catering for everyone. And I think that some of the other companies out there are doing it, but not as well, I don't think. I'm going to be really honest. In my opinion,
I appreciate that.
As well.
I appreciate you lying to me. Saying that to me tonight.
It's genuine. Because I said, I obviously wear a lot of Nike stuff, but I don't see many of the older boys wearing it. They wouldn't even touch it. But actually, you see a lot of them, the Adidas guys, going.
Well, I think we believe in a sort of golfing uniform.
Yeah.
So Tom, this guy Tom, he's got his monthly medal, or the club champs. He's going to come out classic looking. He probably wants to come out looking like DJ, navy and navy, or grey and silver. He wants to come out classic looking. But then on another day where he's just playing with his buddies, they're maybe going down to Cornwall to play golf. He wants to wear something a bit funkier, just a little bit more outlandish, because he doesn't want to think about what he's wearing. And we used to call it, and it's been quoted, the petrol pump test. And certainly, Ben, you'll probably resonate with this. So you get up in the morning to play golf, you put on your gear, you're looking in the mirror, and you're like, I am the business. I shoot low today. You go play your round, you don't shoot low, you're in the car on the way home, you need gas. You need petrol. And you pull in, and you're outside your car, and and you feel people looking at you. You're like, what? Then you look at yourself, and you're like, what on earth am I wearing? Trousers, my pink top on. It's like, oh my goodness. And my gloves still out of my pocket. Idiot.
As a teeth was out your bag.
So that, no one likes that. More and more you'll find that Adidas and other brands, because there's a lot of really good brands.
Yeah, of course there is.
I've got a lot of admiration for a lot of what we would call our competition. And the trend is that it's more lifestyle. So I can wear it filling petrol, I can wear it to the pub, I can wear it in the golf course. But there are things within there that are really quite contemporary. And we got a lot of brilliant stick on social media when Joaquin Neiman played, was it Riviera? It was Riviera. And he had an untucked t-shirt. Oh my goodness. The Instagramosphere went crazy. And it was about, it's not scientific, but I think it was about 60, 70% hate and 30 or 40% we love this. And when we get that much hate, I think we know we're doing something right. We're pushing boundaries. We're an athletic contemporary sports company, and we believe golf is a sport. So we're pushing boundaries every now and then.
No, I think that's really cool. Another aspect of that, I would love to know that 30 or 40% of people that love that, what age range they fit into.
It was young.
Terms of, I was going to say it must be, because we quite often the subject comes up about golf and its inclusivity and its accessibility and some of the silly rules and the sillier etiquettes around that. And we've got to get people playing as much golf as possible. And I know we briefly touched this on the phone the other day, and I think in every aspect of our life, trends have changed, haven't they? But for some reason, we seem to be trying to cling on to some of these rules with golf to try and we've got to keep this standard, we've got to keep this level. But actually, I think we all forget that just getting people to play golf is the most important thing about this. We need them in. We need them all. Like, it doesn't matter what company or brand you work for or what club you're part of. If you're not getting new members, if you're not getting more people involved, at some point, golf's going to die, and we don't want that, do we? So I think it's really important that we keep pushing these boundaries in every aspect. Every aspect.
And I think, and by doing that, we're appealing to two kinds of people. We're probably appealing to a younger consumer. When like Hatton's hoodie. Oh my goodness, when he won at Wentworth. By the way, we couldn't have paid for coverage. It was wonderful. The BBC had it covered. Everyone. So we made it a lot.
Weren't they sold out within
I love that.
4 hours or something?
They were sold out before the Monday.
I tried to get them. I couldn't get one. I tried to get one. Couldn't get one.
Do you not know anyone at Adidas? No. So the coverage from that was great, and there it was at Wentworth, and I seen some comments on social media. Can't believe he'll wear anything because Adidas tell him to. Well, first point, no, he won't. None of them will. It's a relationship. Yet there's sponsored athletes, and Tyrrell and DJ and Sergio and Xander, Joachim and Dan Berger we pay money for their sponsorship, but it's a collaboration on what they wear. We can't say, hey, we need you to wear those, and those. It doesn't work like that. We present the product, they get comfortable with it because this is their living. So they got to be comfortable in what they're wearing and how they look. But the comment was also, and they don't even sell it in Wentworth. Yes, they do. The hoodie was sold in Wentworth. Wentworth have stocked Adidas for a number of years. We've got a lovely relationship with them. So good, I've actually taken him around there last year. And
sure, my invite's on the way, isn't it?
It is. Sure. Well, actually, that day it was just Emma that turned up and said, "Where's Ben?" So
I had your invite.
Thanks, Em. So my issue was with Emma, not you, Drew.
No, not at all. No, of course. So we push the boundaries there, and it gets people talking, and it gets a debate going. And there was a club in the northeast of England who said, based on Tyrrell Hatton, put a thing on Twitter. Based on Tyrrell Hatton's dress code, we just want you to be aware that such and such a golf club will not allow this. This is the dress. And we were like, brilliant, because everyone realised how dumb this club was. And I asked our rep, what's that club like? Is it really quite posh? And he's like, not at all. So it wasn't even that cool or exclusive a place. So we don't just do that. Other brands do it as well. But I think pushing the boundaries, but still respecting the sport of golf with its traditions is important. We don't want to be too radical too often. There's times and places to just...
Where do you think it could go though, Drew? Like if you got, obviously you're talking about this like every 3 years you just look at these two people?
No, we look at them when we have to, and I think it was time we were due to look at Tom and Carrie. It's a really good question. I mean, right now we're starting to develop product for 2023, and the golfing uniform will still exist, but the hoodie's not going away. The sort of crew T-shirt neck's not going away. We've got a range of product called Adi Cross, which is very limited. We don't sell it very broadly. We just put it in a few places and online. That's the cuff bottoms and the some of the funkier apparel pieces. I think it'll continue to do that. It will evolve, and you're seeing it from other brands. I mean, look at Grayson. I love Grayson. I think Grayson's a great brand. It's high end, mercerized cotton products and so on. But what's his name? Eric Van Rooyen, the South African. He wears puffed bottoms, and he looks great. He's a big, handsome guy. He looks great, and I think that's good for golf. It's like the driver that's come out this year. You don't need to buy it, but if you want to buy it, you can. It's up to you. No brand's forcing anything on anyone. We're creating a look and a demand, and I think it's resonating, especially, but also with this new golfer that's came to the game in the last year, who's in his 20s or mostly him in his 20s and 30s, and her in her 40s that have come back to the sport through the pandemic. Appeals to a lot of it.
I do think that your prime green, the new thing that you're talking about, is just like,
Yeah.
because I've had a couple of items, and I do think that is the way, which I love, that a lot of places are going, a lot of manufacturers are going, is this the environment, because I think a lot more people are thinking of that
Yes.
now, and just making sure that it's sustainable and
Yeah, it's the number one,
you know.
the most important thing to Adidas as a company, just in terms of its product. So we have what we call prime green and prime blue product. And there's lots of ways to protect the environment, but Adidas has chosen end plastic waste. Because someone could be watching this and saying, yeah, you're into the environment, but you still use planes and fuel and shipping, and they're right. So Adidas has said, let's end plastic. Let's play our part in ending plastic. So if a product is prime blue, it means the product is plastic that's come out of the ocean and recycled into fibers to make product. If it's prime green, it means it's recycled polyester. So this shirt, if I throw this away and it's recycled, it'll be turned into another product, along with other plastics and other polyesters. So our aim is, I think, by 2025 to have all of our product, none of it's what we call virgin polyester, because that's not good for the environment. It's all going to be recycled. I think in golf today, I should know this given my title, but I think it's over 80% of our apparel is recycled and over 60% of our footwear is recycled to some extent. And here's why. There's a couple of there's an environmental issue there that's important. But what we also believe is the consumer is very aware of this. When we launched this product, when we were selling it into, because we sell our product like 6 months in advance into, I know you guys are at the Kendall Shire, so we would go there 6 months in advance and say, hey, this is coming out next year. Do you like it? Here's the colors, here's the prices. And we said to them, and by the way, there's a recyclable story here. And everyone was really interested. People you wouldn't think, selfish, they're a bit grumpy. They care. Because I think the consumer cares, their family cares. I know my son and daughter care about it, and they've educated me. So we believe that if a consumer sees a product and they know it's recycled, they'll resonate with it. It'll endear them to it. They've got to like the look, color, fit, and so on. And if the product next to it from another brand is not recyclable, we think ours will have an edge because it's something the consumer is conscious and passionate about.
It's really, it's a good thing you brought this up, because it's actually a question from one of the old listeners on Instagram as well. So it's Social Golfing, and he actually what's the future for Adidas and making more items recyclable, which is obviously what we just discussed. But he's also asked, is there any way we can trade in our old clothes in terms of hand them back in, do that, or is it something that you're thinking about, or is it not even on the radar? He's actually
there's actually a thing called, again, I should know the title given this really company. Yeah, it's like look product. It's literally product that you buy, you wear, you hand back, you regenerate it into something else and you rebuy it. And that's actually being piloted this year, not in golf, unfortunately, but that will become a bigger part of our offering in the future. But I would say, take your old clothes. I take my old clothes to charity shops, but if not, take it to somewhere that will recycle it, because companies like us and others will use it. 100% all recyclable by 2025, if not sooner, from our golf range.
Wow.
We try and hold on to our clothing for the young people that we work with. There's some, well, none of them are my size, hardly ever, but in general, we try and hold on. No, but we try and hold on to it, just to hand it down as much as we possibly can and recycle as much as we possibly can. But
eventually it'll be done,
It's good. It's nice to know. It's kind of refreshing to know that, or hear that big companies are thinking about it. And I know it's everywhere on the news, and we talk about global warming and the environment.
The consumer, Ben, is smart. And fast fashion is very fashionable, but it went out of fashion very quickly when the consumer realized product was getting thrown away. It wasn't good for the environment. It was being made in sweatshops a lot of the time, or some of the time. And for big companies, you're a big target. If you're a big company, you're a big target.
Yeah.
So if I can tell you, we are bulletproof in our factories in terms of working conditions and salaries and so on. And I know that the big obvious competitors of ours in sport, Nike, Puma, Under Armour, people like that, their factories are bulletproof.
Yeah. They have to be now.
Also
they
for
have
the right
to be.
reason.
I guess they have to be, though, don't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm glad to hear it's for the right reasons as well, that we are thinking about that a little bit more. It's because we're as individuals at home, we try and do a lot, don't we? So it'd be nice if the bigger brands start doing that as well. It'd be great. And it sounds like Adidas are doing a great job. We're doing all sorts with the plastics and washing, getting rid of the plastic from detergents and all sorts. We're doing, and that's being led by my wife.
It's a way of life, isn't it?
But yeah, it is. Yeah, it's really, really, really important. Well, I've got one more. I've got a couple more questions for you here, Drew. Got loads actually. We've got so many. Because I know we covered this a little bit more. I'd like to know what else is important to Adidas in golf, because I know there's loads of things that you've mentioned already. Is there anything else that we haven't missed just yet?
Well, probably the most important thing, actually, and that is, so Adidas, quick history lesson, was created by a man called Adolf Dassler. Adi Dassler, that's where the name comes from. And his brother Horst Dassler started Puma. And Adidas and Puma are in the same small town just outside of Nuremberg in southern Germany. But Adidas's philosophy remains with us today, and it's basically everything for the athlete. So everything we do in terms of making product in golf is to help the golfer play their game. Because if your shirt doesn't fit, or it doesn't wick away the moisture from your body and you fatigue, if the hem isn't long enough, or the sleeve shoulder is cut the wrong way, or there's not enough material across here to turn, your game will be adversely affected. By much? Who knows? Maybe not. Maybe not if you're playing a driver that's 10 years old versus one today. But everything we do is for the athlete. Now, there's some fashionable stuff amongst all that, but we pride ourselves in everything we produce is for the game, for the golfer, for the athlete. And in golf, we say we're born of sport, so we're a sports company, but we're rooted in golf. Golf's important to us because we believe golf is a sport. It's becoming more athletic than it's ever been. And I was accused by another company. Said, you guys don't give a monkeys about golf. You know, you've only been in it recently and you'll go elsewhere if you get fed up. And I was like, no, we've been in it since the 70s. We're passionate about it because we believe it's an important sport. And we will be in it for the future as far as we can see. There's only one Olympic sport Adidas don't make product for. Make product for every discipline that you'll see at the Tokyo Olympics except one, because every one of them is a sport and we want to make product towards it, but there's one we can't. What would it be?
Is it
fencing or something bizarre?
No, we make fencing. We make fencing product.
Curling?
We make.
Do you? Oh my god!
Oh my god!
Let's keep it to summer sports, though. Yeah, let's keep it to Summer Olympics.
Summer sports. Okay, summer sports.
No, not summer sports, but the Summer Olympics as opposed to the Winter.
Summer Olympics. Shooting?
No, we make product for shooting. Because I'll narrow it down. The GB team is all Adidas, right? Has been for a couple of Olympics now.
Yeah.
Okay. But there's one team that we don't make product for because it wouldn't make sense. Because there's nothing we could do for that person that would make them perform better.
Equestrian sports.
Well done.
Yes. There we go. That's the only good thing
we
I'm this
podcast. As our former CEO said, there's nothing we can do to make the horse jump higher. So everything else we make it, very much including golf.
Wow, I didn't know.
That
That's
just
impressive.
shows you, though, how massive a brand Adidas is. And you just don't think of that. You really don't.
Yeah.
But like, I remember, so when I started playing golf at 13, 14, I had a pair of Adidas traction golf shoes then. So that was a few years ago. So when people say Adidas isn't, but it's probably the last, so I've been at Kensington now 5 years. So I'd probably say the last 8 or 9 years that Adidas, in terms of shoe brand as well, the golf shoes, they have just taken an absolute rocket, I would say. And I guess when you can just see it, because the 3 stripes are so obvious on players nowadays, aren't they? Really,
I've seen a big difference since we left Taylormade, and this is not disparaging to Taylormade whatsoever. But people like me, and there was lots of us in Taylormade Adidas Golf, I was responsible for both brands. And it's difficult to give 100% to both. And because Taylormade is, it's only my philosophy, is one of the superpowers alongside Callaway, Titleist and Pig. They're the ones every golfer in the world will know what's going on and who's playing it. Adidas maybe suffered a little bit. But since the day and hour we sold Taylormade, guys like me and new guys and girls that have come along, we're only thinking Adidas all the time. So I'm seeing a big jumps in terms of our product performance. And we touched on earlier that people are loyal to brands. And our opportunity is every now and then someone wants to try something different, we capture them. And we've had a shoe in the range now for many years called the Tour 360. It's always been a great seller, over £100. One of the best sellers over £100 in the golf market. Then about 4 years ago, it was 2016 or 17, we had a problem with the heel and it ripped your heel up.
Yes.
And it was a disaster.
Yeah.
It was an absolute disaster.
Yeah.
And so we had to rectify that really quickly, but it's taken us a couple of years to get people's confidence back. If you think even further back, there was a shoe called Adi Zero, which had a very aggressive...
the one that tore the greens up.
Tore the green up, yeah. And it was actually, I actually know the guy, he was the head of the Greenkeeper Society in England, wrote an article on it. And we met him years later, and I was like, do you realise what you did? He's like, oh, no idea. Because we were actually using the same cleat as another very well-known golf footwear brand at the time. But we got...
no guesses. I know, yeah.
But, you got to work hard at recovering from that. And, for example, last year, the Code Chaos shoe through the roof.
Massive.
Get them in stock. And this new one, this ZG21 that you can see, or the ZG21 as the Yanks call it, that you see Dustin and others wearing, can't keep it in stock. It's so, of all the things that worries me in our business, product isn't one of them. Product's getting better every season. And I'm delighted to see that our women's business is really taking off.
Yeah.
The female golfers familiar with Adidas brand, they maybe wear it to their yoga, their gym, leggings to go for a coffee with the girls and so on. It's a very familiar brand, but it wasn't quite transcending into golf. But that's changed literally in the last 12, 18 months. Yeah. And bookings for our women's product are through the roof because the product's getting better. And with concentrating on Carrie, everything that Carrie wants as a global muse seems to be resonating with the female golfer, and things are a lot more.
I think it is fascinating because I get asked all the time, who can help improve the women's golf brands, and I generally think manufacturers are doing so much more than they used to.
Yes.
And it always to the point that I generally don't think you guys and girls can do any more, because you've got ranges, you've got colorways, you've got different shapes, you've got different sizes. But at the end of the day, it's got to go into pro shops and women have got to buy it. And I do think there's still this stigma, or I don't know, spending X amount on a polo shirt for a woman, whereas a guy will go and spend 120 quid on a expensive polo shirt because he can wear it outside. And I think that's what's changing a little bit is this, since lockdown, people have been wearing activewear so much more. And, you know, I think people are all right wearing a polo shirt, walking down the street, whereas I generally think...
Or a little hoodie that you can wear.
A little hoodie. Or just
So
I do think lockdown, in a bizarre way, has kind of made people chill out a little bit with what they're wearing.
I agree, Emma. I agree.
I think that's what's been really good to see.
You know, there's a couple of things in that where, for women, the female market in the UK, you'll probably know, is only about 13-14%, whereas in Germany and France it's over 40%. But it is growing, and it is an important market. And Adidas are passionate about the female category. If you follow Adidas Women, you'll see it's an incredibly important part of our business, and is actually set to become even more important. We've got a couple of exciting athletes like Danielle, Jessica Corda. We just signed Charlie Hull for footwear.
Have you? Wow.
A couple of weeks, actually, yeah. So you know, the women's business is really important. But you touch on a point there where, and I when Ben and I caught up a day or so ago, I mentioned this, where I don't want to belittle the pandemic at all, because it's a serious thing. People are dying. We've got a young woman in our office who lost her mum and dad in a week. Absolutely tragic, horrific. And so
that's awful.
I don't want to belittle it. However, the pandemic has been incredible for, as you touched on there, Emma, athleisure. So I'm not, people call it brown shoes for men. No one's buying brown shoes, they're buying sneakers. People are not buying a nice dress, they're buying something to lounge about, but they can smarten up as they go out. So it's a much more casual, sporty, athletic look, and guess what, we're a sports brand, so that's working well. But at the same time, there are a lot of people have come to golf that would never have come before, and golf is a great opportunity to put their arms around these people and hold on to them.
It's created a bizarre opportunity in many ways, hasn't it? And I think, like you say, it's a terrible time, terrible time for lots and lots of people, and like you say, you don't want to belittle it at all.
No.
But like for brands like yourself, like you say, they it's an opportunity that it can't be missed in many ways, because it's just. I was trying to hit on the point earlier on that Adidas as a brand is fashionable in general at the moment. Like with all the young people we work with. Young lads, young girls are wearing Adidas, and they've all got their socks pulled up with the Adidas 3 stripes down the side, and they're wearing some kind of tapered leg tracksuit bottom with a hat and t-shirts or whatever. Adidas is everywhere, which I also think is helping with the Adidas ladies golf as well, because I think those people are starting to grow up and fall into golf, like we just talked about, and actually Adidas is a brand that I know of, and I'm quite
familiar with the brand. I trust the brand.
And then you're bringing out all this cool, like I've said before, this cool stuff that it fits everyone, all shapes and sizes. It's brilliant. It's a great opportunity.
Definitely.
So,
on a different note, how many pairs of Adidas trainers do you have?
Trainers or golf shoes? Trainers are one pair of Ultra Boost all the way. Black.
Really?
Black Ultra Boost are my trainers. I get to the gym when I can, and golf shoes. I slim old drivers at Taylormade. I get new ones every year.
Yeah.
I've got the ZG21s. I'm desperate. I've actually got, when we go back to golf, I've got I'm taking Tuesday and Wednesday off on holiday to play golf.
Oh wow!
New shoes on those days.
Have you got the boa ones, or have you got the laces?
Do you know what? The boas are amazing. Boas in Asia, I'm going to say, well, let me be more specific. Japan, South Korea, over 85% of all golf shoes are boa. In this country, it's about 10%. So
do you ever hear about people? I think not a phobia. I hate laces. In fact, I put my trainers on today just to show you. So any laces, I'm going to take this off. I tuck them in. So if there's a lace flapping around in a golf shoe, you know, the 1% freaks me out. So boas, that's why I would have them all day long, because they are amazing.
Boas are amazing. Definitely. Love the convenience and the fit. of board.
Yeah.
Rarely see them though. I know that sounds silly. I rarely see them. The only person I ever see wearing them is Emma. It genuinely is Emma.
They don't sell well in this
them.
country. They're more expensive as well, Ben, because bows are separate.
Okay.
We've got to take their technology and put it in our shoes, so it makes the shoe more expensive. And
I didn't know that.
A very expensive taste, so that's why it's.
But I do think it's like one of these things, and when you put one on, it is the perfect fit, because you can obviously, you can wind it whichever back or front. You can wind it to the point that it is like, it doesn't matter if one foot is slightly this way or this way, whereas laces are just this weird flappy.
Yeah, and some people will say with boa, you find it relaxes a little bit halfway around. Yeah, because it's leather, normally a leather construction shoe, so it'll change. So you just give it a quick twist and it's fine.
Yeah, just a one little click. Love it.
Yeah, brilliant.
So yeah, thank you to your research and development making those bad boys.
So on to the next line of questioning, I'm afraid, Andrew. So in your opinion, how do we get more people into playing golf? I know we've talked about the pandemic, and that's helping a little bit because it was possibly the only sport we could all play at one point, and we've talked about the youngsters. But how else do we get more people into golf?
Do you know what, Ben? It's the $1 million question, isn't it? And I probably don't have the definitive answer. What I can tell you, what I believe is that golf needs to be more accessible to everyone. It has to be more diverse. It's got to reflect society more, and I think there's an opportunity there to market to people who wouldn't normally play the sport. A few years ago, a body in golf who will remain nameless, and you could guess who they are, but you get it wrong. I believe in 3 guesses, you'd still get it wrong. But they said brands like us were parasites to golf, and that we made our living from the sport. And I found that deeply saddening and offensive, because everything we do, and in golf, and Nike, who's our biggest competitor, and FootJoy and Galvin and Puma, if you look at those brands on tour, on TV, it's on players who excite and inspire us. That is our effort at getting people off their backside and down to the golf course. That's all we can do. We can help make it look exciting. The manufacturers can help with equipment that's easier to hit until you're ready to play something a bit more bladed or whatever.
So is this like a genuine conversation that you have to have sat around the table making decisions about this? Is this a question that comes up a lot? How are we going to get more people into golf?
All the time, because golf is not dying. It wasn't dying before the pandemic gave it an injection of new people. It's been stagnant for 15, 20 years. The people we lose every year, we get them in. But it's not growing. So the question is, how do we grow the game? And I think manufacturers like us, hard goods, soft goods, are overwhelmingly trying to make the game exciting and inspirational so as people will try it. The rest is up to the pro and the golf, because that's the destination. But
you can't win then as a brand, can you? Because you're putting money into these players. At the end of the day, if you see the top 5 male pros or 5 women pros, that's how people get into golf, because they see them play. And then your class is a parasite, which are just generally...
Yeah, that's gone. I'm glad to see, Emma, that thinking has gone.
Yeah.
Let me give you an example of that. So that comment wasn't from the R&A, but I'm delighted to share with you, it's out there, it's not very common knowledge, but we're partnering with Adidas as the brand is partnering with the R&A. The Women's Open this year in Carnoustie, when you go into the merchandise, we are the only brand. There's no other brand in there. And the R&A came to us.
That's cool. Sorry.
We like what you're doing. We like how important women is to your brand. what would that look like? Full disclosure, I said, hey, I don't mind if you have another, if we're the dominant brand through this partnership that we're agreeing, but I don't mind if you have another brand, because actually I think there's more competition in women's brand than there is in men. A lot of really good Scandinavian women's brands, and so there's really nice stuff out there. And the R&A said, no, we just want Adidas because we want to be associated with a contemporary, progressive sports brand that are serious about women. Box ticked. So
it's lovely though that R&A are thinking about it, aren't they? So yes, whereas now you go back 20 years, the R&A were like, no. Whereas it seems like they are really up in their game.
Yeah, there's a new thinking in the R&A. There's a I think they're regenerating themselves, and
it's really encouraging to hear. Really encouraging to hear, especially where. And like me and Emma, well, not me so much because I'm just playing the game and fumbling about all over a golf course. Whereas Emma sees these young people coming in and they hear about the R&A and old stories, in fact, stories from people about probably the negative side of things. So when we hear things like this, it's really cool. And when you can start talking to young people about it, they'll start thinking,
doing some great stuff.
That's great.
As are the PGA. Really bodies like PGA and R&A are really getting their act together. But it comes back to my point there. The R&A will do work, the PGA will do work, brands will do work. It's then what does that feel like and look like to the golfer when they go to the golf club? And my big concern, full disclosure, is committees. Now, the golf club are part of a pretty good committee. I've been there a long time and I've seen some rubbish committees too. You don't like this and don't like that. And someone told me your daughter's skirt's too short, and I'm like, she's 12. What on earth are you? It's so. I'd
lose my marbles.
Your wife came for you to pick your daughter up, and she was wearing jeans. Yeah, she was only picking her up. She doesn't play golf. And I've got this in front of me here. So this little statue here, my daughter won that at her club, and I wasn't there. I was away in business. My wife sent me the photograph of her collecting it next to another girl, and she had ripped jeans on. And I was like, oh my goodness. Spoke to some of the women. I was like, do you see my daughter? Yes. Well done, Andrew. But, she was wearing ripped jeans. And I'm like, yeah, she is.
Yeah, she's cool. She's cool. She's a kid.
I don't like jeans. I never want to see jeans in a golf course ever. But committees and golf clubs have got to be welcoming. They've got to take down the barriers. The Grove Golf Club up on the other side of London. I remember going there for the first time, and all the staff in the shop and in the bar and everything were all wearing jeans, and I thought, good for you. Don't want to see jeans on the golf course. It's not on the radar. But just places that you think, I can relax here. I don't need to worry much about what I'm wearing. I can use my mobile phone, courteously rather than shouting across the bar. So golf clubs have this great opportunity that the brands, the R&A, the PGA, the Golf Foundation, everyone's driving people to golf. But then what does it look like at that? And there's still a lot of work to do there, I think.
There are. And I think we're lucky at the Candleshire. Our club are brilliant, and they are really, I wouldn't say relaxed is the right word to put away, but they're open to people wearing all sorts. Like I've worn hoodies playing around the Candleshire quite often, and I will wear all sorts. I will wear anything to play a bit of golf, but not jeans, don't get me wrong. However, I've had comments made to me wearing shorts, because I don't wear trousers. I'm one of these
weirdos.
Yeah, I was going to say that. Weirdos that just wear shorts full stop. Even got married in shorts. I literally will not wear trousers. But the amount of times I get pulled over by some of the older boys telling me that I need to start wearing some trousers on the golf course, or I need to do this. And I'm like, this is
it's wrong. And if you're new to golf, and we all remember what it's like first going to a golf course, it's quite an intimidating environment. So if someone says you're crushed, wouldn't it be great if the tour players could wear shorts?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Why do they from a brand point of view? Why do they not wear shorts?
They only changed it, I think, last year that they could wear it on the practice day on the Wednesday.
That I can remember that being big news. I was like, finally they've let them wear shorts. And then I was like, oh, it's just for practice rounds. It was
exactly. So I think things like that would help, because I go to America quite work, and you go into it's a country club environment in shorts, and you're wearing their hat. It's very relaxed, very welcoming, very friendly. We're a bit stuffy, and that's changing, but it's still got a long way to go.
No,
but I do think if you think if in terms of shorts, so a girl can wear a short, like a pair of shorts, guy. Sports. So surely that's a discrimination. Surely that's a discrimination perhaps, kind of thing.
Well, hey,
but like
you guys, we actually use it. You guys have seen it. There used to be an advert in every clubhouse.
Oh, it's horrible. I know which one.
Cut in half. Here's what you can wear, and here's what not to wear. We love that in equal proportions. It's like so ridiculous.
Yeah.
Beige chino with a hint of
pink socks, like light bright.
3 pleats in your pants. So that's changing. That has improved considerably, thanks to, I like to think, us and lots of other brands, but we've still got a long way to go. People have got to recognize that what I'm wearing when I go to the golf course is for golf. It's for the game, and I'm kind of traditional like that. You know, do you remember Ian Poulter wore his Arsenal shirt because it had a collar on tour a few years ago?
Yeah, it was gross.
I thought that was a good one off, but I don't want to see it go too far that way, because golf has a look and a feel.
Yeah,
but it is becoming more progressive, temporary.
I agree. Like when you play golf, like as much as I want to feel comfortable, I still want to look dead smart to an extent. And
Justin Rose used to say it: "Look good,
play good."
And he's right.
Feel good. We want
to look right.
It is a nice to get a new polo shirt or whatever you wear, and you get to wear it around the course, new hat, just looking a bit smart, all colour coordinated if you can be. And like you talk about the petrol station earlier on, I am that guy every day, because I try and wear golf stuff to work most of the time, just in case I might get an opportunity to play 9 holes here and there.
Yeah,
it's so important. So there's we've got quite a few more questions for you, Andrew, I'm afraid.
Oh wow! Well, fire away.
So if you don't mind, if we go there.
What time?
Fire through them.
We haven't got, in terms of time, I am conscious of time, obviously, because it's an evening. We'll try and keep it down as low as possible. But let me just get to the important ones. I know somebody's asked me about golf balls already and what's your knowledge around golf balls. But the question specifically was around, how do you feel about the argument of rolling the ball back to cut the distance on tour, in terms of making it a little bit less powerful, is probably the best way of putting it.
It's a really funny one, isn't it? For a guy who, a good day I'll hit it 260 yards. So, what difference is it going to make to me? But I think everyone's excited watching Bryson hitting it over the water for a mile. And yet we want to see the skill and so on. Short answer is, Ben, I don't know. I really don't. I think it's an interesting one, because I don't want to I'm looking at a picture of St Andrews in front of me behind the screen, and I don't want to get to a place where they can overpower every golf course. And I think the Genesis, the LA Riviera, shows how a well laid out golf course brings a lot more shots into the game. So I think golf course design can do a big part of it. And I think there's certain regulations, like the ball just now cannot be made any more illegal. Drivers and balls and irons all have a conformation standard that they can't go beyond. And I'd like to think if they keep it there and are smart with golf course setup, it could get that argument away. But I think golf than that one.
I think that it's been pretty evident in the last few weeks how not irrelevant that conversation is in many aspects, but the fact that we got Bryson versus Lee Westwood in two of the big tournaments straight away.
Yeah.
And you watch it, and I was backing Westwood all the way, because
English.
He's English, and the fact that he's I was going to call him so old then. He's not so old. He's old compared to everybody else.
Older,
And Bryson's smashing the ball left, right and centre. And Mr. Westwood, just straight down the middle. Well, most of the time anyway. And it was just fascinating. They're scoring the same amount of strokes, but doing it in very different ways. And I suppose that's the beauty of golf, isn't it? If you can kind of bottle that up, they're doing it really well.
Exactly. Exactly.
Do you have any thoughts on the odd ball, Emma? Do you think about that much?
I think personally, golf's changing. So when Tiger Woods came out first, he was smashing it miles. That's what got golf. That's what got so many people into golf, was the fact how good he was. And then everyone upped their game, and everyone's the same now. And they're like, oh, we don't like that anymore. Whereas I've seen when they at the Open, when they make the rough as they possibly can, and I mean, that is wonderful. So they're still given the opportunity, because they're all given the same opportunity. Bryson 3 years ago was like a little rake. He has worked his absolute bum off. He's eaten, obviously, quite a lot of whatever. So they're all given the opportunity to go and work at her. So I just think if golf courses, I quite like that they can hit it a long way, but they should be penalised a little bit more if they hit it slightly offline.
Exactly.
Yeah,
and that's golf course. It's cheaper to probably grow a bit of more grass than do more research and development on a golf ball.
Yeah.
I love that. I love the fact that someone like Bryson's hitting it so far, and then you get to see him struggling out of the rough or doing something like trying to play that wonder shot, the second shot, and then, like you said, you've got the Lee Westwoods of the world hitting it down the middle of the fairway, nowhere near as far.
Different game.
No, it's incredible.
Look at Colin Morikawa, one of our players. Not a big hitter, but what a golfer.
Unbelievable.
He's going to win again. Xander, similarly. It's exciting because it's athletic and it's power. We like that because it's sporty, but it's not the be all and end all. But it's an interesting one. I don't have an answer definitively.
Yeah,
one that
I think
we continue. I think
Rory probably hit the nail on the head, didn't he? A few weeks ago, maybe a little bit longer than that now, when he's saying, "Why are we trying to change like less than 1% of?"
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's there's bigger issues.
Yeah,
no, I agree.
It's not cool.
So then, following on from we mentioned Tiger a minute ago, and it's talking about your athletes in general. Is golf missing a superstar like Tiger being reinvigorated again, or are we doing okay with all the stars that we've got so far? Do you know something I'm trying to say about that? Do we need somebody that's an out superstar, or are we okay?
Tiger's once in a generation, and yes, we need him. And I think the fact that he is black is good for the game, because I think the game has to be more inclusive, has to be more diverse, and there's up until very recently one of the best golfer in the world. And I've had the pleasure of seeing him play, and there's just an aura about that guy. It's just there's not the second part of that question is because look at Justin Thomas. Justin Thomas is probably about 5'9" and 12 stone wet through. But what an exciting player! Brilliant. A big guy. DJ is one of those guys. If you've seen him, he's just the coolest cucumber in the world. He's got a real presence. We did an event with him, and he's actually very funny as well. He's as laid back as he looks. Sergio, one of the nicest guys. So we've got, and if you ever go to golf, follow Sergio for a couple of holes. Guys,
I've heard that before. Go
to Wentworth, and he doesn't play Wentworth, does he, so much? But he's pretty special. Get down to Royal St George, all being well this year. So I think golf's got a lot of great stars, and but there's a lot of ordinary guys as well. Let's not mention any of them because our opinions might be different, but they look kind of out of shape and they look a bit fuddy-duddy, but they're up there and they're doing well. But I think there's enough. There is lots of excitement around the game, and I think that's a good thing, because again, that's about that inspirational thing in sport. But
the only reason I bring that,
there is someone missing in the women's.
But it's funny, we had Michelle Wee, and she was competing in men's games and stuff, and that just went wrong because she could have been really quite special. Dominated by a lot of Koreans in the women's game. But I think, I don't know about you, Ben, but a lot of blokes like watching the women's game because it looks a wee bit more familiar in terms of how they hit it and how far they hit it. I love watching the women's game. I think it's...
I watch loads of it. Yeah, I watch loads of it, and even you say it's relatable. Some of those girls now are hitting it miles, and I stand there thinking, this is incredible. Like, why? And Emma knows that I'm an advocate for the women's game anyway, but I don't understand why more people aren't watching it. Why are we not getting the airtime that it deserves?
It's a tough gig, isn't it, Emma, for the women's game? And I'm absolutely
it is really
delighted that the ISB Handa in Northern Ireland in July will be a mixed field of men and women, and the women will be the same as men. And I'm delighted that we are doing some work with that. People
That's great.
Running it. Yeah, there's a lot of great athletes, and
it's funny
for us. It's brilliant.
We've kind of stumbled onto this conversation a little bit already, but it's another question. We've had another question about this already in terms of the opinions on the pay gap between pro women and pro men, including really the sizing of sponsorships deals. Is this going to be challenged moving forward? It's actually quite a long paragraph that I'm not going to go into all the details. But
well, look, I tell you what, in Adidas we believe in equality. We pay all our athletes rather the equivalent amount, men and women, and also in terms of any sort of win bonuses and appearance fees and so on, everything's the same, as far as I'm aware. And I believe that there has to be more equity. Now, there's an economic argument that says, well, you'll get 40,000 men a day, 40,000 people a day at the men's open, and 10,000 a day at the women's open, so there's not enough money to pay them. That shouldn't prevent us trying to make it equal. And I think there's a big job to inspire young girls and women into the game, because it's a brilliant game. Before we started this, I told you my best golfing story ever was playing Pebble Beach with my daughter. By far. And trust me, I've had some good golf trips, but that is the best memory in golf I've ever had. And
we'll come into the details of that a bit later on. There's a question for you later, I promise.
All right, okay. So, my daughter's given up playing since she went to uni 2 years ago, but I believe she'll come back to it. I think it's such a good sport for young women. I really do.
It's incredible. I think I mention this quite often. I've got a young daughter that's 6 years old, and I am trying my hardest to get her to play golf, and she loves golf, but we're fighting a gymnastics battle, like I explained to you the other day.
Oh, no, that's okay. That's good. I said to my daughter, pick two sports. One's golf. His daddy wants to golf.
Yeah, you have to choose one. Yeah.
And she chose netball, and so she was passionate about it. But, what we do as parents, we make them play football, hockey, rugby, netball, tennis, golf. And I said, let's pick two. And she went golf and netball.
Well, we're trying. We're introducing obviously to have loads of sports, but I just love the fact that I can rock up to the Kendishire, play on the academy course, which is a little practice area, and I can go around and she can go around. We can whack it all over the place, having a little laugh and a giggle. There's not many sports you can do that with your kids or with older gen. I just love it, and I think when we talk about golf being accessible, inclusive, it is already one of the most inclusive sports, because I can play against Emma and compete. I can play against somebody with a handicap.
It's fair.
Yeah.
And it is.
Yeah, you can't do that in football, can you? No. You can't rock up and play against.
Or rugby.
Exactly.
Or rugby.
Sport.
Yeah.
It's a phenomenal sport.
My only regret is I didn't play it as a kid. I didn't get into it until I was in my 30s.
Yeah, I can join you with that.
I wish I'd played it when I was younger, really.
Drew, did you get into golf because of working for Adidas? Or
No, I was 35 years old and I finished playing football. I bust my knee. It was pick up golf clubs, so that was my way in. And then I the golf job, and I thought I better get into this.
Yeah. No, I don't play.
I love it.
Right. So last question in terms of ones from people that have asked them, and then we'll go into. I'm going to call them sillier questions, because there are silly little questions that we bring out every week. So. The questions, I'm sure you've had the opportunity to meet some great people working for Adidas and Taylormade. I've just added that bit because I didn't know about that. Who has been your favorite? Who has been the most knowledgeable? Who has been the funniest? So you've got three questions in one. So favorite person to meet. I know that's a really tough question.
So like a sports star, at golf? Or
not necessarily just golf, but everything.
I'm not one of those guys that get all flustered when I meet a superstar, and I've been lucky to meet a few. But years ago, I met Zinedine Zidane, and I was a wreck. And
you cry.
he's the best footballer I've ever physically seen, and there he was in front of me. And to be honest, I met David Beckham once, and I realised in that moment I fancied him as much as my wife does. He's gorgeous. He's gorgeous.
Does he have this presence like Tiger Woods? Like, I imagine he has got this aura that you.
And he's not a big guy. He's not a big guy, but he walked in. I was like,
oh my God, I love you.
He's a gorgeous man.
I
had a similar experience with Johnny Wilkinson when I met him.
Right.
I was just like
some people have got it. Some people have got it. I think I had a brilliant one with Sergio Garcia. I've met him a few times now, and he's a really great guy, lovely, genuine guy. He played a couple of holes with groups in Berlin, of all places, and we were on a par 3, and you had to get inside Sergio Garcia on I managed to get it on the green somehow. My 2 playing partners put it left and right. It was, cringeworthy. And so we were putting out, and I kind of choked, and I left my putt halfway to the hole, and he walked by me, and he got his lip salve, and he dropped it, and he said, "Oh, is that your lipstick?" And I was that close to saying, "So what, you're talking to me about putting?" I thought, I'm not saying that.
I'm not going to say that.
He's actually, I couldn't have been happier when he won the Masters. My daughter and I were up telly cheering. He's a lovely, lovely bloke. I met Franz Beckenbauer and Johan Cruyff, for you older football lovers out there. And that'd be about it. Yeah, I don't get that flustered. I've met more interesting or not sports stars.
Yeah, I was going to say, do you get to meet like the designers? Like, have you ever met Stella McCartney?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we work closely with them.
What's that like?
They're all they're far too cool for me, so they're but when I went to Germany to work, I had a mentor, a German guy who was a mentor, and he was an older bloke. So I'd be early 30s, he'd be, I guess 60, and he was employed by Adidas, and I just thought that was the coolest thing, that this bloke knew personally the creator of our company, and I just that was special.
Yeah, that is cool.
So then on to our silly questions then. I'll say they're silly. They're not really silly, are they? We just like to level the playing field a little bit, and we talk about something that's relatable to everybody that comes on. Yeah. So favorite golf course you've ever played?
Probably Pebble
Beach.
Oh, I've played it twice. It's wonderful.
So Pebble Beach, that's been announced a couple of times actually already now.
Really?
And then next question is, course you most want to play that you haven't played yet?
I really want to play this Dumbarton Links, this new place up in Fife. It's getting a lot of reviews. And in this country, actually, Turnberry Ailsa or Royal Dornoch.
Oh, don't.
Do you know what? I'm so spoiled. I've played a lot of nice places in Dornoch, Kingsbarns, Ailsa. I love Prestwick. Wentworth is a great environment. But yeah, this Dumbarton, everyone's raving about that. Played Torrey Pines.
Wow.
Spyglass was gorgeous. I'm so.
Have you been to Augusta to watch the Masters? Have you ever had one of those?
And I would.
What is that like?
It's the most special environment ever. You go to your golf travel in these companies and you get a deal. Do yourself a favor, do it. It will
really.
So absolutely blow yourself. Wonderful.
It's on the bucket list for sure.
The most special place. We were in hospitality there, and I actually went into Butler's cabin. And funny, we're talking about what you wear. I was wearing shorts and a polo shirt, and I walked into the Butler's cabin, and they were all there, members, their patrons, with their green jackets on. I went, hello. Walked out. I was
hello.
Hello. I love that. And then, okay, so next question. It's kind of split into two. and the reason it's split into two because we need a golfer and a non-golfer. So if you had the opportunity to have a caddy for the day, who would be your golfer? All right, and the next day you had another caddy, who would be your non-golfer? It can be anybody. It can be professional athletes. It can be people that you know.
So who would I have on my bag?
On your bag, yeah.
As a golfer?
Advising you around the course,
Oh my goodness.
So it's a little bit more in depth in that it might not be just
is.
somebody that you think that is a cool person to be on the bag. It's somebody that might help you all the way around. I think Professor Brian Cox got mentioned a few weeks ago. So it's something along those lines.
Well,
maybe.
I think for a non-golfer, give me the quintessential grizzled, old, grumpy, typical Scottish caddy you'll get at St Andrews or Turnberry. I love them. Because they bring you right back down to earth very quickly. But a good caddy, see that hill over there, son? Just hit it somewhere near that. Poof. Aye, all right, not bad. Smoke, drink. I love that. I love it. Just that for me. I encourage everyone when we go. We're actually going to Scotland. We just booked up Turnberry, my golfing buddies and I, for June. And I always say, when you do the Ailsa, get a caddy. You'll love it.
Any one of those.
So I'll have one of them. And as a golfer on my bag, that's a really good question because again, I'm not. See, I wouldn't want Tiger because I'd be petrified. on my bag. So I had the pleasure once of having a few drinks with John Daly. So I maybe put John Daly in my bag.
Oh wow!
I'm a fan of John Daly. I've just got myself a new John Daly head cover. I've got myself in the last few weeks. Yeah, massive fan of John Daly. I'd be all over.
Is he Carnage? Because I just imagine Carnage.
Oh yeah. Well, he wouldn't give a shit. You just go and enjoy yourself.
I love that.
I'll probably think of something far more profound and answer when we finish the call. But let's go. It probably says a lot about me. Some old sort of crazy, grumpy alcoholic Scots caddy, and
isn't every Scottish person?
Almost. We've all got it.
You're allowed to say that, you pair. You're allowed to say that.
Yeah, I'm allowed to say that. Yeah, my parents are from Scotland.
At the moment, because it changes from week to week, I think I'm leaning towards an Eddie Pepperell at the moment. I'd quite like to have him on the bag, just because I know he'd just take the mickey out of me all the way.
Space in golf, isn't he? It's really interesting carving out his own space in golf, and I think he's interesting, isn't he? He's not conformist.
He's interesting, honest, and
he seems really intellectual as well.
Yeah, I think he's double smart. Yeah,
he is. Absolutely. Not that I know him. I'm saying like he's like my best friend.
He also, he's not cliched when it comes to the interview. And I love that. I think it's refreshing when athletes of all sports just tell it how it is.
Yeah.
The footballers that come on, obviously, the lad's done well. Obviously, we worked really hard. It's like nothing's obvious. Stop saying obvious. Talk to us from the heart. Tell us how that game felt. And I think Eddie Pepperell does that.
Is there any other golfers that do that? Sorry.
No, go for it, Ben. Sorry.
I was just going to ask: Is there any other golfers that do that, like Eddie Pepperell? They're just so open. Does Brooks Koepka lean into that a little bit? I think.
Yeah,
sometimes.
I find him slightly intimidating. I think if I was interviewing, I think at some point he might want to punch me or something.
He's big though.
DJ, what do you love about the Masters? The sandwiches, brilliant.
Yeah.
So just give us it honest. Give us it. Be respectful that people are watching, but tell us how it really is. Don't give us the bog standard answers.
Okay, and then you're going to be playing Pebble Beach again, saying it's your favourite course, and then you get the opportunity to choose your 4-ball, you included. So you've got 3 picks, and it can be anybody you like, golfers, non-golfers, people that are dead or alive. It can be absolutely anybody from your family. It can be anybody. You got 3 picks. I know this is hard as well. I'm putting
this was a really tricky one.
I would play with my daughter. Would be in there because if I could even replicate that experience I had with her by 50%, I'd take it in a heartbeat because it was so special. We were literally the 2 caddy was carrying both our bags. and her and I were walking up the fairways arm in arm. It was magical. First at Pebble Beach.
So really quickly then, before we go back to the four-ball story, we do ask if there's any one golfing memory that you could bottle up.
Right.
What would it be? And I'm pretty sure you're going to tell me now.
I think that might be it.
Yeah, so we got to
that.
the 7th, the par 3, and we got our photographs taken. It's actually on my Instagram account, I think, and two of us hit literally a pitching wedge. And we were both about 5-6 feet above the hole on either side. And I rolled mines in. I looked at her and went, "You got to put it in." And she put it in. We high-fived, and she walked off. And I looked around and I thought, she'll never forget this. You know, when she's a woman.
Don't you think those moments are the goosebump moments, though? The proper,
for sure. And we walked up, and I was almost in tears as I put my arm around her.
Yeah.
On to the next hole.
That's incredible.
It was so magical to be there. So yeah, that would be my best moment. But the 4-ball, I would have. This is really shallow. It's rubbish. So my daughter would be there, and I'd have Stephen Gerrard and Walter Smith, past Glasgow Rangers manager, current Glasgow Rangers manager, because I'm a big Rangers fan, and the two of them have done a great job. Walter Smith's not very well just now, so he's in my thoughts. Steve's thoughts, because we just won the league for the first time in 10 years. So really rubbish, shallow answer, but probably them.
Yeah.
No, it's your answer. It can be whatever you want it to be. And the fact slipped in Stephen Gerrard as well. I like Stephen Gerrard. He's a good lad. We like him a lot. Yeah, he's a good lad. I love the fact that he was able to reply to the interview the other day about working for Liverpool or being the manager of Liverpool. And he's like, they don't want me. They want Jurgen Klopp. We want Jurgen Klopp.
Yeah,
I love that
Jurgen
response.
Klopp,
I was like, I thought it was brilliant.
Yeah, he'll go there. Hopefully, he'll go there one day with our blessing. He's done a good job. That's where he probably belongs at the right time. So he seems good. I like his attitude. I like his manner. There's no fuss about him, and I like that. So that would probably be my. It'd be a 4-ball where I enjoy the banter, where we talk a similar language, where we've got something in common. I think if I played with, Aristotle or David Bowie, people that I'm familiar with and admire, it would be too intense. I want to enjoy my around. So I want people similar language.
It's funny because there's so many people. You ask that question so many times, and people always lean towards, I just want to have a bit of fun with it. I really want to just have it, and I think it's brilliant.
But do you know what I think, Ben? We should do a recap of everyone's favourite moment, because that makes every single one of us smile when you hear it, because you can totally think even though I know Mia, but Ben doesn't know Mia, but he could probably imagine exactly how it is for you. And I think everyone's stories so far have all kind of just been so wonderful to make you realise golf is this magical sport every so often. And I love it. I absolutely love it.
It rings true because I've got a daughter.
You know what? Let me retract that. I'll take my son out as well. I forgot about him. He's a good golfer. He gets down to about 5 handicap, but let me leave out. I'll take Walter Smith and my son and daughter.
Oh, love that.
Just in case he ever sees this.
He's like, oh gosh, edit that.
Cheers, Dad. No, brilliant. No, it's been a pleasure having you on, Andrew. It's been really insightful, and actually I feel like I've learned loads. I feel like I've learned a lot.
I mean, it's been fun for me as well, guys. It's broken up a day. I think we're all struggling a little bit with lockdown. I'm a guy that travels a lot. I'm not traveling at all. So to break up my day and just chat like this with you guys has been a real pleasure. It's good to meet you, Ben, Emma. It's always great to spend time with you. I hope it's been vaguely interesting. I hope it's given you and anyone that cares to watch a little bit of insight into our side of the business. My old man was a coal miner. When the mines closed, he became a bus driver. And I don't consider what I do a proper job. I consider what he done as a proper job. And I'm very, very blessed to work in the sports industry and the golf industry for a great company who's looked after me through thick and thin. I've had health challenges and the company's always stood by me. So it's not lost in me how lucky I am. I'm a wee boy from a council estate just outside Glasgow, and there I am playing Pebble Beach and Turnberry and so on. It's not lost on me how very fortunate I am.
But I know how busy you are, Drew, so I can't thank you enough, because I know we wouldn't have been able to pin you down because you'd have been so busy. So thank
Emma,
you so much for
you've
your
met
time.
my wife, Audrey. She's delighted to have a couple of hours away from me.
Good. I know. Thank you, Drew. It's been.
You're welcome, guys.
I really have loved it,
you.
and I think everyone would have loved listening to this. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much. Take care, and we'll see you next week.